We're talking Arkansas football. Head coach joins us. 68-24 in 7 years as the head coach of Wisconsin. He led the Badgers to 3 straight Rose Bowl bids. They have their season opener against Louisiana Lafayette August 31st. Arkansas coach Bret Bielema is my guest. Bret, great to have you back. How are you?
Great to be on, Jim.
Hey, Bret, you have not played your first game yet, but you're more than a half a year into your time at Arkansas. How has that time been, and what's life been like in the SEC for you?
It's been awesome. Been a little bit of a whirlwind, but people have been fantastic. Most importantly, our kids walked into a room that was very, very excited about the transition. Obviously, a rough year to go through last year, but like I've always said, sometimes those scars that you earn are great things that'll propel you through tougher times in the future and make those good times come that much faster.
Yeah, so what do you do with the players? I mean, that was a tough thing for you to walk into and a tough thing for them to endure. You go into a situation where they've been through a lot of coaching turmoil. Is it something you have to be conscious of when you're dealing with your players?
Absolutely. And as you know, Jim, my last time I took over a program that was really full speed ahead and didn't have that. But this transition, I tried to learn through watching others before me, take a little bit of the situation and take a step back. I told our kids in that first team meeting, listen, I'm not going to make reference to the past. I'm not going to talk about it. We all know you went through it. The greatest thing we have going forward now is it's just us. We don't worry about what other people say or do. Just concentrate on us. And I tell you the great thing, too, I have over almost 20 seniors that are ready to leave a legacy of greatness. They don't want to leave behind what they did a year ago. And that, for me, is really exciting.
Are they a little slow to trust? Are they a little slow to trust coaches after what happened?
I think the exact opposite, Jim. I kind of thought the same thing coming in, but these kids, what they had been a subject to, from no reason that they brought upon themselves. They were just going through a normal spring, and all of a sudden, obviously, the whole Petrino situation came about, and then with John L. and the bumps in the road they hit, it wasn't anything on their doing. Obviously, they played the game, and all that can be pointed there, but they were just looking for hope. And we've been, as coaches, been nothing but full speed ahead. We didn't reference the past. We just talked about where we were going, and the good news is no one else thinks we're going to get there except for our room, and our kids are very, very excited.
Arkansas head coach Bret Bielema joining us. That's something. Nobody else thinks we're going to get there except our room. I mean, the fact is you won 3 straight Big Ten titles, and you come into the SEC and, quote, nobody thinks we're going to get there except the guys in this room. Bret, sounds like you've got a bit of a chip on your shoulder because of that.
It is. I think that's one of the fun things to be a part of. In a few years, hopefully they're going to have unrealistic high expectations. But to get to where we need to be, we've been voted to finish last in our division by I think the same group of people that voted us number 1 a year ago. So I don't think the room had changed that much, but definitely got new coaches. I was able to retain a couple coaches that have been instrumental in us in the transition, but brought in a group of coaches from all over the country, SEC, NFL, other colleges, other conferences, and it's just been really, really a fun time, and I'm excited to get this first ball game here.
Bret Bielema joining us. That first game is August 31st against Louisiana Lafayette. You had all that success in the Big Ten. I wonder, when you come to the SEC, do you need to change your approach and the way you do things?
Definitely. First and foremost, it's a different climate. It's a different atmosphere, so not only with winter conditioning and spring drills, but more importantly here in the fall camp, you have to be smart about the way you're practicing, where you're practicing. Are you going to be indoors or outdoors? Are you going to practice in the morning and the afternoon? I really lean on my trainers and my strength staff to monitor our kids, where they are health-wise, where their legs are, where their conditioning, where their hydration is. There's a lot of different things, but as a head coach, that's what your mission is. I'm not coaching a position anymore. I'm trying to look out and be projecting down the line for 2-3 weeks, sometimes months in advance, and so far so good.
Bret Bielema, head coach at Arkansas, joining us on the show. Hey, Bret, obviously there are a couple of teams in the SEC that like to play a little hurry-up offense. That's something you've spoken out against from a player safety standpoint. Lay it out for me. How does the hurry-up offense put defenses at risk?
Well, and I think, Jim, the one point that I try to stress to the SEC and no one wants to buy, I'm not just talking about defensive players. Every offensive player is out there for the same amount. When I bring a young man into this program, I love every offensive player just as much as I love every defensive player. And the thing that I just have learned and witnessed over the course of time, when you have players that are out there, especially certain guys at certain weights and what they're carrying around physically, you get past that 8th, 9th, 10th rep without a rest, and they become vulnerable to not just the hamstrings and the pulls and stuff like that, but I'm talking now they're a little less guarded. Maybe they aren't as strong into a tackle, and the byproduct of that is an injured knee or anything else along structurally. So it's not just offense, defense. All 11 players, offensive and defense, will be up there for the same amount. There's been a certain momentum swing that's come a part of this conversation, not just from me, but also other coaches that express the same thing. So it's just something that I think we should take a look at. Obviously, it got a little momentum with SEC Media Days, but you cannot tell me that the body's the same after Rep 10 as it is after Rep 15.
All right, so in terms of that momentum from SEC Media Days, a story like that's going to get a lot of attention, but do you feel like it's getting a different sort of attention or more attention in the SEC than it would in the Big Ten?
Without a doubt. The thing that blew me away is, you walk in, there's 1,200 media people. There's just such an awareness. Even here in Arkansas, I've been calling it Razorback Red Bull. Everybody's drinking it from 7 in the morning, 7 at night. I mean, they are excited about the Razorbacks, and that's just kind of throughout the whole SEC. The fans are very passionate. A very exciting league to be a part of for sure.
Hey, listen, you were in the Big Ten. I mean, they care about football down there. Were you kind of taken back by some of this reaction?
Yes and no. I'm kind of caught in a tough situation. I loved my time in Wisconsin. Absolutely loved my relationship with the fans, the coaches, the players, my administration. Coach Alvarez is one of my dearest. Obviously someone I looked up to in a big-time way from a professional, but also as a friend. And when I left, I knew that it was going to change. I knew that was going to happen overnight. And not that Wisconsin isn't very passionate, and I witnessed it and saw it firsthand 7 of the greatest years of my life, but it's just amped up a little bit. I think just by the way of life, it's nothing negative at all. It's a little bit more. It's just that one notch, It's that one extra little bit of a step up that makes everything that much more.
Bret Bielema, Arkansas head coach, joining us. Bret just mentioned your relationship to Barry Alvarez, what he meant to you professionally and personally. Then you go back to what then Ohio State President Gordon Gee said in that tape message, where he said that Alvarez thought you were, quote, a thug, and that you left just ahead of the sheriff. Another quote. He apologized for it after the fact, but what was your reaction when you heard those comments?
It was, ironically, I was flying back from an event where I was on the plane with my athletic director, and our phones were off, and when we landed on the plane, my phone blew up, and I didn't know what it was, and I saw it, and I got to tell you, we were coming back from SEC meetings in the spring, and I knew that there was something. I knew Coach Alvarez would never say that, which he obviously quickly followed up with, but, when I talked to President G on the phone, I just said, hey, you build forever to build up your name and the value of what you are when it has nothing to do with money or what you own. Or it's about what your name is worth. And I was very strong with him that you took a swipe at my name. It took me forever to build the value to that name. And what you said and just castingly threw out there as a joke was not to be taken lightly. And, thankfully he took actions to, make those statements correct. And then obviously Ohio State took some great actions as they did. So it was just another thing that you got to go through, and you take those experiences you learn from, and definitely hope that others do as well.
Bret Bielema, my guest. Bret, it had to be kind of a tough conversation with Barry Alvarez, or maybe was it not? How did things end between you and him when you left?
It was very difficult. It wasn't something I was looking to do. I know a lot has been written, a lot has been said. They basically on Monday night had a conversation, and then on Tuesday morning went and visited with Coach Alvarez about the possibility of me taking the Arkansas job. Threw a couple things out to him. When it was evident that I was going to make a switch and come to Arkansas, I gave him a huge hug. It was very emotional, very, very tough, difficult time for both of us. I know it was for me, and said some things there that were very, very cool. But I knew it was going to change after walking out that door, and then after the first press conference. It's just you're in a tough situation. I kind of made reference to this at SEC Media Days. I'm leaving one conference, going to another. You're obviously going to promote the conference you're in and be a part of what you really want to sell. So I knew it wasn't going to be something that was easy to do, but it's part of growing, it's part of life, and it's definitely made me stronger.
Hey, Bret, 2 quick things. When you were there, did you think that you were going as hard as you possibly could, or did you leave knowing that, among other things, I got to find another gear, I need something, I need a new challenge? How did you approach it, and how are you working right now compared to how you worked then?
Well, it is. It's kind of been the 7 years I spent there definitely prepared me and gave me some insight that this first 6-month wave here has been at a whole I don't think I would have been able to be where we are today if I hadn't had that 7 years. But it's a different type of transition. I'm coming off a team that went 4-8, a coach that has been let go, and all that goes into it. But it definitely, I don't think I'm working more, but it's a different type of intensity and it's a different type of drive. Just how I'm wired individually, I knew that we'd won 3 straight Big Ten championships. That hadn't been done there since like 1978 or 9 or whatever it was. That doesn't just happen. So we did it, and I had a chance to move on and be a part of the SEC, and that's what I did, and I'm definitely not looking back.
Bret, your presence on Twitter is something to see. Most coaches are really concerned about what their players might do. You're not afraid to get in there and mix it up with some of the haters, and you know how Twitter is, man. If it's not for you, got to have thick skin because people
Absolutely.
will come. You will get in there and trade with haters. What is your approach and philosophy towards it?
Well, I think the first thing that you know as a man, you have to protect your name, protect your value, and when somebody makes a comment, takes a swipe at me, my team, or someone around me that I love, I just can't sit by idly. No, I'm not going to respond to everybody, and obviously once we start camp here on August 4th, it's going to slow down quite a bit. But, I don't swear. I don't use anything that I wouldn't want my mom to read. I always tell our kids, don't tweet, don't Facebook, don't send a message that you don't want your mom to read. And the thing that I've kind of had some fun is, it really gets noticed by recruits. I mean, the number of recruits that I've had follow is just off the charts. They say a lot of things. We can direct message each other by NCAA rules, and it's been a recruiting thing that's been huge. And as of the last 2 weeks here, we've had some great swings in recruiting, and a lot of it has been Twitter driven.
It's something because the players, it might make you nervous as a head coach to see these guys online, to see them with social media. But the fact of the matter is, it's very different than it was even 5, 7, 10 years ago. All these players have grown up with social media. It's where they live. It's what they do.